Kraken is also, it's a very direct action to stop something to stop a problem with housing. So for many people it was very unlogical that there is many houses empty and on the same time that there is many people without a house. It was meant to stop speculation with housing, and it started about 1970. It was a kind of protest, direct action, but it developed more and more.
As you can see now, we are on a boat on the Amsterdam channels. Normally this boat is in a harbor outside Amsterdam, which we squatted 4.5 years ago. It's called ADM. Now we are threatened with an eviction. And I'm on my way to court with this boat. We don't want to leave there because for some silly reason they want to make a whole lot of money by selling this place, this old ship wharf, to the government of this city. We're not planning to leave, and if they still want us to leave, we have other methods than fighting in court.
Till now we had 3 courts, from the 1st in January, the 2nd in February and this one. And the game is still not over. That's the only thing we can say, you know. I don't know what they're gonna judge, but it will be in a month, the sentence. But yeah, the worst is you have to leave in 2 months. The best is there are no licenses for the new hire, and we have to wait for that, and after that if he has his license to start there, you get another 3 months or something.
During the 60s, some squatters, after they were evicted, they started court sessions because they said it was illegal that they were kicked out. So then you get some sentences of court, the court, high court, that when a house is empty, that it's legal to squat. And that's still the main rule in Holland.
We squatted this place, the North Wall, we squatted in 2 years ago. We came with 30 people. There is a forest near here. Almost 28 of the people stayed there. And then Martijn and me, we went in the day, just in a normal day, in 12 or something. We went via the back. We break in with one, where is this fucking thing? One thing like this. We opened the door, or we broke the door and we went in, we opened the front door and we called the other people. And they come immediately and then it was squatted. Yeah, the police came after half an hour just when I finished with put a new lock in the front door. So I closed immediately, but it was not finished yet. But I didn't want nothing, they just said, okay, it's squatted, yeah, it's squatted, okay.
Yeah, for me it's a big reason that it was empty. Empty houses should be used, I find this. And that's why I like to squat. I like to live in a squat. It's also because you can do a lot of things with these buildings. I prefer to live with a lot of people because when I live on my own, I work all day at home because I paint. And sometimes I get like, wow, I want to see people. And here are friends. They're around me. I can drink tea with them or cook with them if I want. If I don't want, I have my own room and I can do my own things. That's what I like about the community.
We have meetings once in a while whenever matters come up that we have to solve something. Like last winter, the water line froze and it burst. It's all lead pipes and we had to fix it. You know, of course you need water. And so we get together to talk about, okay, what we're going to do. We have money that every month we put in a pot, a central pot, and from that we pay water bill, electricity, whatever, and then also we have money to pay, in this case, to fix the water line, and then we all help fixing it. So it's just cooperation, mostly.
We just had to inform ourselves in the government how long this house was empty, to know if we had the rights to squat it. And then we came inside and we had everything. There was electricity, there was water, and the building was in perfect condition. And then we just came inside and we cleaned it up and we just put a nice things inside for us to start to live here.
Well, I think for us, to live and to work in the squat is a gold mine. A gold mine means that not in money, but much more that we have here the opportunity to explore the theater side, the movement theater. We have a space. Each day we can go in, we can work there our pieces out to create. And secondly, the way of living in a squat attracts me especially because I like to share the same building with people that are more or less from the same way of living. It's a style of living. It's more than only just living in a squat. It's also philosophy. The people are coming here to be together, to split something. My philosophy of living in a squat is I find if I would rent one house, just renting one house and live there, the contact with my neighbors will be different. So that doesn't mean that here, because you don't pay on the moment rent, that this makes the contact different. But it's much more that the people that live in this house are here because they choose for it. It's a kind of living style. And this philosophy is like, for example, for me, personally, that I can borrow something from a friend of mine in this house. I can borrow something and he can borrow something to me without any problem. We have social contacts, much more than I think that people have when they live just on their own.
Well, I think squatters, squatters who are not legalized, I think it's about 5,000 at least. But you can say most of them live for more than 5 or 10 years, also under not legal conditions. And in practice, you can say, well, in effect, they are living legal now.
Yeah. when I first came in here, I felt a very good energy and I wanted to stay here. So I started to build, and when I finished it, the next day, someone passed by and said, "Oh, that's a crack, you have to pay rent, I'm going to do something against you." And then I started to, shit, you know, I worked 2 months on it, and then someone just passed by and terrorized me, and we have everything. Well, we built it, everything. When we first arrived here, it was a bit messy. The walls were a bit falling, then we rebuilt it all. We have kitchen, we have toilet, we have a bath, we have a shower, it's just normal life.
But when the house was squatted in 1978, so that's 13 years ago, there came 6 people and they found an empty house, and what they found was nothing. It was all wood and there wasn't even a tap, there was no electricity. And they started to rearrange the house. And they made water and electricity, and they made 4 floors. Yeah, the neighbors, in the beginning, they had a much better contact, I think, with the squatters than we have now with the neighborhood. I mean, this is an area that is really an inside folk, inside people. So they have a whole own culture. And for instance, there's a pub on the other side of the house, and, well, it's not nice to go there because they will look you out, and they never greet us. So we can say hello and they don't. We are still the squatters.
Every Monday evening we have here a squatters consulting hour. That means that people who want information about squatting or want to squat something can come here, and we give all the information he or she wants. And if this person finds something what he wants to squat, then we help him from the beginning till the end.
First we let the person go out, him or herself, and look around to see if there's an empty house or an empty floor. And then if they find something, they have to check that out further. And if they don't find something, we can give them some addresses that we think are empty. Then they have to go by there themselves a few times and see if there's light burning or ring the bell or whatever to see if it's empty. And then there's some official places where you can get more information, like who the owner is and if it's been reported empty and things like that. And if that's done and we're sure it's empty, we organize the squat, so we get some people together and then the actual squat will happen.
Okay, we're gonna squat a house. We're gonna go from the back side. We're gonna go from the back side and smash a little window. Then we go into the window. We open the door, the front door, and then all the people come in. And as soon as all the people are inside, we are changing the lock from the door. And then we put our lock on it so that we have our own entrance. That's because when the police come, the police have to consider that it's that we have our own door, that we can open our own door, you know. And then, well, if we have our own entrance, then everything is all right. And then they cannot do anything in the beginning. They cannot evict us.
Squatting now, they're still being squatted in Amsterdam. It's apartments are being squatted around the center of town, in the poorer areas. There is no big houses there, there's just apartments, so people squat in apartments. Here in town, here in the center of town, there is no apartments, there's just big houses. And they are all being used. So the only things that are being squatted now is really bad houses, old bad houses. And I would say that is political squatting. Because if people would like to live, they could squat an apartment perhaps outside. But these people, they want to live together. They want to organize themselves. And they want to fight the change in the city center.
Well, when we came here, it was just the walls and some floors. And we had to build it all over again. And well, we squatted it because yeah, we want to show the people that lots of people need a home here. It's about 60,000 people in Amsterdam who want to live in Amsterdam, but they can't because there's no homes, there's no cheap homes. And what happens here, the rents go up by it. And if you squat a building, the rents, well, they don't go up, they stay the same or they go down. And well, we want to make governments and yeah, big yuppies and rich people clear that it's not, yeah, you can't make money out of people's first need, and that's a roof over their head. And well, that's one reason why I squat. I can't tell it by all the people, but.
On one concert, we were kind of drunk, and then and it was really good atmosphere. And then in the end, we all changed of instrument. Like I went to play the drums, and Ernie went to play the bass. Did you? And Kirsten went to play guitar, and Jan was singing.
There's more bands that practice in the practice rooms, official studios, than in squats. We only pay electricity here. The atmosphere is really good. I like to go in squats and practice. It's really nice, nicer than in the studios.
Squatting is not illegal if the house is empty, not being used, if people are not seen breaking open the door, and if they really live there. And how can you prove that you really live there? To have a chair, a table, and a bed.
Now the name of this place is the Binnenpret. It's squatted in February 1984.
On the day of chaos.
Yeah.
And now we have, let's start that side, there is a bar. Then we have a big place, it's called the hall. We do have concerts over there. Then we have 2 ateliers. We have a coffee shop. This place is the restaurant. Over there is the sauna. Then we have a studio. Then there is a place for Moroccan people. And on the other side there is a place for a few groups to make theater. And then we have once in the 2 weeks there is a big meeting for every space, you call it. And then all people come together and discuss about problems and new things and about organization of the whole place.
Droomfilosoof, it's a term that I made myself for explaining everything about dreams and explaining the meanings of dreams. I think the dream is very important for your evolution or for being really creative. So I'm very much inspired by dreams and the meanings of dreams. So, and that's in fact that I'm here in the squat movement or into the alternative scene. It also has meaning for me to change things in a more creative way. I notice very often things have heavy political pressure or intention. I believe much more into creativity than politics. The squat is for me something that young people should use to express their intentions, their beliefs and their views on life. It's not something to just get in and keep it for yourself and say like, aha, now I got a place, now I can sleep or something. You should really use it and do something good with it.
We are here in the Wittejas in Amsterdam. We started to work here in this building for about 6 years ago. We had 2 aims in that. One was to work with alternative medicine, like what you see here with acupuncture and with homeopathy and so on. But the other part was to work with normal medicine for patients that don't want to go to a normal doctor or who cannot go to a normal doctor or hospital. In Amsterdam there are a lot of people afraid to go to a doctor. Afraid because it's too it costs you too much money, but also sometimes people are afraid for the doctor because you can come in contact with the police in that way. And we are normal doctors, we are not illegal working. The only strange thing is that we work for no money.
Official media, they don't come, they're not interested, only when there is violence. Most of the time they don't give the background information, why that house had to be evicted or why it was squatted and what is wrong about it, that it has to be evicted and things like that. And it's very difficult to go to the official media and tell them what you want that they tell the people who listen to the radio. So we have also our own media.
We are a printer. We exist now for 5 years, and well, we print everything that can be printed, so leaflets, posters, books. And mainly we print for all sorts of political groups here in Amsterdam.
If you have radio communication, it is very simple, it's cheap, and it's fast. And everybody can listen to it anywhere.
I moved toward the state of shock. once again what's already been said. The same mistakes keep hitting us like bull bricks at blanks. We're feeling nothing, living in Tinseltown. My apartment's on the unfinished block. Some neighbors don't really treat me so bad.
Trying to repair the mast here. The mast is the mast of Radio 100. The antenna is up all the way up there. The higher the antenna, the better the radio. Yeah?
Okay, this is Radio 100, a unique station here in Amsterdam. It's now for 6 years in the air. It's a free radio station, which means we also have a free mind.
In the underground and in the squatters movement, things that are, how do you say, different, are supposed to be different, always are the same. You know, there's never anything new. And to shake everything up a bit, you have to tickle them every once in a while, and that's what we try to do.
Last year, unfortunately, on May the 17th or the 15th, I don't know exactly anymore, but what the heck, the police came again with special guards and so on, and they took the whole studio and our montage equipment and everything.
Squat movement is in this sense important for free media, or especially free radio, especially in the beginning, is that it gives a protection. If you base your radio in a big squat, then you have a big, for the police it will be more difficult to go to you. They are afraid. They think if they go to you, they will get the whole squat movement will be there in a few minutes and they will have big problems.
When I started my program, Sister Evangelina, on religion, I did that also a little bit on purpose. I tried to make the people listen to music that otherwise they would immediately turn off, religious music, just because the word Jesus or God is in it. I'm not a religious person, but I wanted people to get over this, just to hear the music and to hear the true feelings that are in it. So you could say it's not political, but on the other hand it is, because you have to listen, you have to step over your own prejudgments in order to listen to something.
It was night, deep in the night, and I came from the center of town with a little boat, and we entered in the restaurant. There was a big machine there at that time, and we filled our bags with stuff, like screwdrivers and building materials. And since that time we were dreaming about squatting it. So 2 years after, when a lot of squats were evicted because of a big action of the government of Amsterdam, we decided to squat the silo as a group of about 20 people who wanted to live here. Yeah, it was really easy. We went in and we closed all the windows. And the police came and they were really scared that there would be some aggression from the house, because they didn't know what was happening inside. And then we played guard and threw dice for a few weeks. And when the situation was a little bit safer, we started to clean. And then after 8 months, when I think upstairs everything was cleaned and the house in the middle was cleaned, then some people started to build their own spaces.
Very diverse, the people that are living here. You have some people who are very much building people. They work with metal, or they work with wood, or they work with engines, or something like this, and it's very good for such a building because you need it. You have also people who, like, we have one person he bakes bread,
for us twice a week, and he works also with sound. He has a sound studio, and we have people who do theater work and people who do nothing. We have a couple of them.
I bake this bread for all the people in this building, and I built this oven maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years. And, I'm baking now bread for 1.5 years here, this building, and maybe each month there's coming 200 or 300 guilders from this bread. But I'm doing this with 2 other people, and so not all the money is for me. Why I do all this work? Why are you doing all this work?
I was busy with sculpting already a long time before I started performance. But doing performance for me comes out of sculpting, because I experienced that many sculptures had their own story with them. They started to tell in a way, they started telling stories, pictures which I could see nearly. So from there on, I used sculptures in performance. What kind of stories? I think it's psychology, expressions of things you can't put so well in words or are unconscious maybe. It's also a fascination with pictures you see.
Well, all the time there's a lot of interest, or a lot of people pass the place and say, hey, it's beautiful, you squat it, can I live here also, can I take a space? And it's very difficult to choose, because when you see a person for the first time, you don't know what person it is. You cannot judge on a view. So what we did was we made big lists. Everyone who came, we said, okay, put yourself on the list, and we phone you. And then we looked to which people came back and what they did around, and if they wanted to work or not. And like this, we selected people. So the way we selected was really strange. Sometimes people came and it was a sunny day, we were drinking wine outside and we had a meeting. And we said, oh yeah, of course, come and start building nice. And sometimes people came who were really interested and really wanted to work, but we had a bad mood, and it was raining and something rotten happened, and then we said, no, it's no place.
Well, we squatted the new silo, which is a building next door to the old silo, which we squatted 3 years ago. We squatted it about a month ago, and just because it's, we know it's going to be pulled down in 2 years, but it's a very beautiful building. It would be really great to have performances there and places to work in, but it's very dirty, and there was a lot of work to do.
This village was going to be destroyed in the 60s already, because the city of Amsterdam was going to make here industrial area. And so this whole village, about 400 people were living here, was going to be, the people were taken away, the houses were flattened, and the people were brought to other cities, no? So then we, a group of artists from Amsterdam, we discovered this almost deserted village, and we squatted it.
We squatted first the church to make a big working space for people from Amsterdam and Haarlem. And after that we decided to squat also the houses around. So from that moment we live here.
Now, 20 years later, this is 20 years ago, now they want to make again an industrial area here, and they want to make a harbor here, you know, right here at the village. and the village is going to be deserted again. People have to move out, and well, we want to stop them again. And so, in the coming years, this is going to be very. Now it looks very peaceful, but this is going to be a place where a crisis place, really. We could change this into a disco. We could make a lot of money here. We have been offered many times all that money, you know. But we don't want any of that. We don't. We want really what we want is peace and a stable situation so that the nature can develop, and which is good for us and for our children. And
Balloon Company is first of all, it's a group of friends. So we started off like friends who met each other in town, in the cafe or wherever, and we made like plans to do happenings in the end of the 60s, and just do crazy things. And slowly, in the beginning of the 70s, when we came and started living in this village, it became more like a group who regularly did things. So we started to be invited to festivals. We created our own festival. We undertook long trips to India, to Morocco, and so there is a group of friends who sometimes it's a small group, sometimes a big group. We do things together. Whatever good idea comes up and people get enthusiastic about, we start working with it. Everybody is part of the Balloon Company, except if you really write a registered letter that you don't want to be part of it. So that's sort of the principle, that it's not a specially closed company of people, it's just, let's say, an energy circle of people who want to do things.
I think in the beginning it was more individual act, and it was, and then I'm talking about the 60s. So it was a thing to be done, but you would do it mostly secretly, and it was not out in the open.
I think it became a movement in 1975 for the first time, because then there was a neighborhood that should be cleared out of because the government wanted to make a metro station there, a metro line, and people started to squat the entire neighborhood, and they said, no, we don't want these houses to be broken down, you know, we want to live here, and we want to fight your plans with the metro. It was about 1975, that was the first movement.
Then, of course, as many people were doing that, there came kind of communal forms to organize daily life. As houses were often in a bad state and had to be repaired, so money was put together, and so an organizational structure was created around a certain lot of houses being organized, being squatted. Then over the years, and I'm talking about 70s and 80s, it changed when I'm talking about Amsterdam in such a way that you could say that the working together of local so-called original inhabitants with squatters became more and more rare.
In the beginning of the 80s, then there was a very offensive, big movement, and there were then maybe 10,000 people for a demonstration after an eviction.
It developed from a confrontation with a few policemen to confrontations with policemen with special cars and helicopters.
Afterwards we had some main issues, for instance the building in front of the central station in Amsterdam. It was more or less called the castle because they didn't think the police was able to catch it. It was the first time we used a container, a big shipping container, and we brought it in the roof of the building. We needed 2.5 hours to go from the chimney to the first floor. When I speak about last year, we had one in the Centuurbaan in Amsterdam.
This is Centuurbaan 85. It was squatted the first time in 1980. It's been evicted now for eight times. The last time it was evicted in March. It was empty 30 years before it was squatted the first time. And the owner just wanted it empty, to stay empty. Now they're trying to build very expensive houses inside. That's what they say they want to do. And the judge, he said that it was the right from the owner to do what he wanted, or she wanted. So now it's not really much happening. And when it's empty again, we squat it again.
In most cases, it isn't possible to go in. So with a special unit, we go on the roof, we make a hole in it, and from the top we go downstairs. And in some cases, we make some arrests. Then there are possibilities that when we are trying to do so, other squatters at the outside of the building try to get reaction by the police forces. And when they do so, we have special arresting teams, and we try to arrest that people and bring them to our police stations. That is the way of tactic we handle these kind of problems.
The first time this year they came with 200 policemen and horses and special police, and we squatted it again the same day, and a week after that it was evicted again with even more police. A lot of paint bombs being thrown at the police from rooftops around here. And they arrested, the second time they arrested people inside, but they were released after one day.
The real problem with squatters was that they used violence. That was the real problem. But as a societal engaged group that said, well, you have to improve the urban dwellings, you have to build new homes. It was a very good political movement, the squatter movement. But when you have a conflict, and the conflict is decided by violence, then we say, well, it's never permitted.
I say is violence is the fact that people don't have housing, that the people don't have care, that the people, that's violence, that's structural violence. And I see the occasional violence which comes out of the street being provoked by this situation, being provoked by the police also. I see it more as a kind of a self-defense. But of course it has been for the city council, it has been a very grateful job to put this violence of the squatter movement and put it into the media and say, people don't do this because they don't listen to you. You know, those dirty squatters, they're violent and etc. It has been a very grateful job for them to use this.
We gave the real solution as city, and also in cooperation with the government, that we said in Amsterdam, we want to build more. And in the end of the 70s, we built in Amsterdam, say it about 1,000 dwellings a year, but since 1980 till now, we have built on the average each year 5,000 dwellings. So of course that took some of the tensions away.
I think the reality about social housing is quite different. You see that, for instance, one simple fact, there used to be 50,000 people without a house here in Amsterdam in 1980. In 1992, now, despite of the social housing program, there are still 55,000 people without a house here in Amsterdam. So I think, and they also say it should stop now, because there is more want for expensive housing. So at the moment you see that they build for people with a job, They build for people with job, with a regular income, for families, but they don't build for young people, they don't build for old people, they don't build for people without so much money.
The problem is not growing. Also the climate in Amsterdam has changed enormously. We won the political struggle in the sense that we say, well, you have to divide, honest. It's not the power of the most strong person in this, the younger students, etc. We say, well, no, you have to distribute on an honest way, and we won that struggle. And the squatters became even more isolated, and now they accept our policy.
The position of the government has always been to try and stop this, because they wanted to control everything themselves. But of course they were out of tactical reasons. They tried not to smash it down completely from the first moment on. They saw that it was very strong, so they tried to have a policy of two lines, you know. One, to do concessions and to give offers to people, to try to drag them out of the movement. And other was a violent way, a repressive way. So they were very good in having this two-way tactics.
I think it's good what the Krakers do. I think that the ME, the mobile police, is something not good. I'm for the Krakers.
I think they are crazy. Why? Because they know the consequences of it, of the use of it.
What they're doing is not wrong, but perhaps the way they're doing it is wrong. Sometimes they're too violent. But the things they're doing it for, their reasons are not wrong, I think. A little bit old-fashioned, but still necessary in a way.
Krakers, okay, if you need a home, you got to find a place. You don't gonna live on the street or something like that, you know. If I got to crack a house, I will do it. Okay.
Thank you.
After 20 years squatting in Holland and in Amsterdam, a lot of people now knows about what it is, and it is not only rioting or violence, but there is a background, there is a history, there is motivation, there is political motivation.
I compare it for myself really to maybe this is for you in Spain, this is strange, but I compare it to like the rise of fascism in Western Europe, in Holland. Before the war, you know, you had to take an attitude. What was your point of view towards Hitler? Now I think it is the same. What is your point of view towards the environmental crisis? Where are you?
My opinion about this One Big Europe, we will start on 1st January of 1993. I think it will be very bad for normal people. I think it is a unification of multinationals, of big money, of egoism.
In the Netherlands, we are a very prosperous society, of course, and when you have some economic growth, each year you will see that the need of getting more quadrat meter of living space will grow. So it's possible that in, say it about a few years' time from now on, we have again very great tensions, but I think that a repetition of the squatter movement will not develop.
It's going to be a very difficult future, because we don't have a strategy anymore. First, you know, if you look back, you can see first everybody believed in communist parties, communist organizations. Well, I say the communist parties and organizations, they couldn't help people. Then you had the strategy of social movements. You know, if you build up a social movement on one theme, they're gonna have to listen to you. They're gonna have to change the society. But this strategy also didn't work. So now we have to look for a new strategy.
I heard for squatting people when I came here in Amsterdam. Before I know nothing about that. But now I know lots, and I learn also I learned a lot because I've come from a really different country. It was communism there, and it's different situation totally than here. You know, squat movement is against capitalism, against making money, against profit, against lots of bullshit in this world.